Hey guys! Okay, it is now officially almost the end of week 7 of Atomic Summer Habits. I'm so happy that this was an 8-week challenge that has gone through just the summer, and it was all about finding out what your habits are. What are the habits that have served you, and what are the habits that you really discovered that you mastered through the winter and the spring with us during our other challenges? What ones have stuck with you? What ones? This summer has been hard, you guys. Really amazing weather for some of us, but it's been challenging because there has the routine shift of getting out and people going camping and people wanting to do trips and all this stuff. We have all had an opportunity to discover actually what we do when we are in a day outside of our routine, outside of our home, without all of our things prepped around us. So yes, that is ideal. Yes, we can get back to that. And when we're home, which we are still home, even in the summertime, most of the time. So when we're still home most of the time, I want you to think about how you can maximize the habits that you have built, because we still have that as routine. So chapters 15 through 18 is what I went through this week. I have talked to a lot of you guys, so I'm going to make this quick. But I've talked to a lot of you guys that this is typical, because I personally did this with Battlefield of the Mind. I committed to doing a study and I petered out halfway through. So it is common to start a book, get halfway through it, or get a few chapters in and just not feel like you have the time or attention to stick to it, which is why I suggest still going on Spotify or going on Audible and listening to the book, listening to this. Because what I'm going to do, since I've talked to so many people that either read it all the way through really fast or listened to it really fast, they listen, you guys listen to it the first couple weeks of the summer. I am going to read one of the chapters, almost all of it right now. I should actually record this and put it on YouTube. There are a lot of people that read books and put them on YouTube. Isn't that funny? Okay, because this is so good and I want you guys to hear it and I want you to see the value in this. Okay, I'm not just doing this for funsies because I feel like we don't have enough videos in this group. I'm doing this because I want you to hear it, because I understand the value that it has for all of us. This book applies to us in all areas of life. So I want you to hear this. On chapter 16, that was chapter 15, the cardinal rule of behavior change. So this one, I'm not going to go over a lot because the next chapter is what I am going to. So in this one, they talked about the cardinal rule of behavior change. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. So to get a habit to stick, you need to feel immediately successful, even if it's in a small way. So that leads to the next chapter, which is tracking how to stick with good habits every day. You guys know that I'm going to go crazy over this chapter. It's chapter 16, how to stick with a good habit every day, because it should be that desire. That should be what we want. It's every day. These days are flying by stinking fast. And when we stick to good habits every single day, we are going to get right results. And so I love this chapter, and I'm just going to read a good chunk of it. I'm on page 196. Again, if you have the book, please read chapter 16. I don't care where you're at in the book. Would you just skip to chapter 16? I want you to read it with me. But I'm going to just start reading it. So listen up. Okay, making progress is satisfying, and visual measures like moving a paper clip provide clear evidence of progress. We did that last week at the stairs outside, moving a little tiny stick so that you can see every time you go up the stair, you are getting that cue, that reward that you made it up another set. So as a result, they reinforce your behavior, adding a little bit of immediate satisfaction to any activity because you see that little visual that you're doing a little bit better, you're making more progress. So we're going to talk about the visual measurements. They come in many forms. They come in food journals, so tracking on MyFitnessPal, your workout log, hello. Loyalty punch cards, if you need to do that for going to there's a million of those. Progress bar on your software downloads, even the page number in a book. That's also rewarding because it's instant gratification. But perhaps the best way to measure your progress is with a habit tracker. So how to keep your habits on track. Here's what I love. That is our 6 habits of success. When you go to our guides, which I'm going to plug in right here, when you go to our guides, have you guys all watched the nutrition guides that I made in this group? There is a lot of information in there. If you have not watched the guides, when you go into the guides, you actually can click done after you watch each video, and you can go back in and rewatch them. If you still don't understand macros and nutrition, you are missing out if you're not watching those and watching them a couple more times until you understand. The tools are all there. So a habit tracker is a simple way to measure whether you did a habit. The most basic format is to get a calendar and cross off each day you stick with your routine. So we do that in this group. If you're not utilizing that, this is a year-round tool. Every day you can come in this group. Sydney is my captain of this Fit Plus page, and she comes in and I come in and I see that you guys are being held accountable. You're using this page as it is intended, and it is intended to be a habit tracker because you're showing me and you're showing up that you are getting the 6 steps done every day. It is not perfection. It is progress over perfection. But when you go in and you show up, I know you're putting in the work and you are going to be successful. And we're going to talk about why. So this is what I really love. Jerry Seinfeld reportedly uses a habit tracker to stick with his streak of writing jokes. In the documentary Comedian, he explains that the goal is simply to never break the chain of writing a joke every day. In other words, he's not focused on how good or bad the joke is, or how inspired he even feels. He is simply focused on showing up and adding to his streak. So that's what I encourage for you guys. It is not that every day you're going to wake up and want to do this magical workout that's going to make your day better, which it will, or that you're going to wake up with the attitude that you just can't wait to get started on work or whatever it is that you are trying to improve on. I feel that practicing with you guys right now, even over video. I am not a public speaker. There is nothing in my qualifications or my college education that qualifies me to speak to you guys. So I'm doing the same thing right now as I am reading this book. And as Jerry Seinfeld was writing his joke a day, we are practicing working on something that we want to improve. So if you want to improve your fitness, you're going to show up every day and do something for your fitness every day. If you want to improve your nutrition, for a time you're going to track your nutrition because you're improving that habit. If you need to track your water, if you need to track your steps, something on us at all times is always tracking it for us. If you, for a time, need to track your finances, that's why we have bank statements. All these things around us are being tracked, and we have tools everywhere for us to use. So we're supposed to do is whether we feel like it, whether we think that we're doing a good job or not. We just need to stick with the streak of doing it, of just doing it, okay? That's how you get better, is not waiting until you feel like it, waiting until you feel ready, or waiting until you completely understand nutrition before you nail it. You're just constantly practicing and listening to your body and getting better. So the first benefit they're talking about is habit tracking. Habit tracking is obvious. So habit tracking naturally builds a series of visual cues like a streak of check marks on your calendar or the list of meals in your food log. When you look at the calendar and see your streaks, you're reminded to act and do it again. Research has shown that people who track their progress on goals like losing weight, quitting smoking, lowering blood pressure are all more likely to improve than those who don't. One study of more than 1,600 people found that those who kept a food log lost twice as much weight as those who did not. The mere act of tracking the behavior sparks the urge to change it. And that is consistency also, because you're trying to go after the streak of doing it consistently. And over time, even if it's only doing it for 3 months in a row, which is always my initial goal with anyone I start working with, is track your nutrition for 3 months, because it creates your self-awareness, it gets you into a good habit, and that's long enough for you to see positive change. Okay. So habit tracking also keeps you honest, and that's the truth. Most of us have a distorted view of our own behavior. I can say that for myself in areas that I'm not organized. We think we act better than we do. Measurement offers one way to overcome the blindness to our behavior and notice what's really going on each day. One glance at the paper clips in the container and you immediately know how much work you have or haven't been putting in. Just like if you go to Google or you search in this group, if you want to search your name in the top bar at the top of this group, every post you've ever done in our accountability group will pop up. And so if you want to know how consistent you've been, whether you have or haven't, it's not good or bad. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is if you want to see how consistent you've been and what your results are and why, you can go search your name in the bar, and all of everything you've added for as long as you've been with me is going to be in there. And then also you have a really awesome way to see your growth too, because I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen a lot of non-scale victories and growth and the things that you could look back on and be like, oh man, I can't believe that when I started, I was nailing those 6 things, but I always struggled with this one thing. And that's when we can start focusing on that one thing and make it a focused habit and really work on that one thing over the coming weeks. So when the evidence is right in front of you, you're less likely to lie to yourself. And that's what is honestly so good about tracking. Benefit number 2, habit tracking is attractive. Most effective form of motivation is progress. And when we get a signal that we are moving forward, we become more motivated to continue down that path. In this way, habit tracking can have an addictive effect on motivation. Each small win feeds your desire. That's just like our watches. I keep pointing back to all these stinking tracker watches because it's the truth. When we see the little small win of, yes, I was super active today, or yes, my watch just went off that all my rings closed. That is that reward sensation. That's why we all stinking have these watches. We love that. So I want you to acknowledge that. This is particularly powerful to use these tools on a bad day. When you're feeling down, when you're feeling tired, it's easy to forget all the progress that you've had in this program, at work, in your house, with your kids. It's easy to forget that things are growing and changing and the positive things around you. But when you can go back and look at your habit trackers, look at your watches, look in this group and the accountability and see all the hard work that you have put in, that is a reminder of how far you have come. So I want you to remember that and to use these things as tools for your good. So benefit number 3 is habit tracking is satisfying. The most crucial benefit of it all is to find that satisfaction in this. So tracking can become its own form of reward. It is satisfying to go to the bottom of your nutrition tracker and hit nutrition and see that macronutrients and see that you hit the right mark for your consistency and see that, oh man, I've tracked, there are people in here that have sent me messages privately that have tracked 100 days in a row, that they can tell a difference in their habits now, their nutrition, or they can say, I've carried this water bottle around with me now for 3 months and every day I get it gone. And I mean, those are the kind of things that are so rewarding. So remember to create and look for visual cues that do really motivate you. I love all of our habits. I personally still have to go back to them often, because when I put them all together, that is when I personally feel best. That's why I created this whole program, was because I want you guys to feel as good as it feels to feel good and to feel up for anything. And so those 6 steps are basics. Those are not rock and roll, over the top, extreme athleticism. Those are basics to feeling really good and taking care of your health and taking care of your body and your fitness and staying strong long term and getting good results is another part of the reward. So then he goes on after what he talks about, what can we do to make tracking easier? So we want to make it that it is possible, realistic to keep up. Things like our watches make it super easy. Credit card statements make it really easy. Calendar records of places we've been. All the data is around us, and that makes it really easy. For nutrition tracking and making it easier, I really like to stick to a lot of the same foods, except for when I go out to eat. I like to try new things. So I pre-plan and pre-track on the days that I do best, and it sure makes it so much easier to just take a couple minutes when I'm eating breakfast and plug it all in for the day of what I'm hoping my day looks like, and then adjusting it as I go. All right, so when you get a chance, I do want you to listen to and read all of chapter 16 in Atomic Habits, because he keeps going on about the importance of tracking and using different trackers. I think the principle of this, I'm going to read this, is so important to stick to, even if I can't do a habit well or complete as I would like. Too often, we fall into an all or nothing cycle in our habits. The problem is not slipping up. The problem is thinking that if you can't do something perfect, then you shouldn't do it at all. I know that Virginia in this group, if you want to search her name in here, she is always writing incredibly inspiring things. And she actually just talked about that this week. We can all agree, a lot of us understand that. The problem is not slipping up. The problem is thinking that if you can't do something perfectly, you shouldn't do it at all. You would not believe the amount over the last 10 years of people that have messaged me that say they want to get fit and strong, but they say they don't want to start until they can be perfect. Well, there is no time that we're going to be perfect, and I don't say that with any sarcasm, but you and I both know that there is zero time in our life that is the perfect setting for having a perfect routine, because it doesn't happen. It is always chaos, always wild, and making these habits work in your wild life is how you stay healthy long term. So if you don't realize how valuable it is to just show up on your bad, busy days, then I want you to recognize how important it is. You showing up for yourself, whether your day has been terrible or it's busy, you are keeping up the habit, and you are going to add on to your good results, regardless of how good or bad your days are. And I know, it is just wild. That's just the way it works. So this is why he says, this is why the bad workouts are often the most important ones. That's why the days that you don't feel like anything's going right, but you can get a workout in and you can work on getting yourself to sleep, or you're drinking more water. Those days are the days that add up to give you results at the end of a really tough year. That you always look back on my hardest years, you guys saw me in tears a couple of times in the beginning of COVID when I was moving me and the girls out of the house. But I am so thankful that I continued to take care of myself. I continued to eat healthy. I really had to pay attention to the people I was around, to the things that I was letting in my mindset, to the way I was spending my time, the shows I was watching, all those things. I am so thankful that I worked out and stayed fit and ate healthy, maintained how I feel best because you come out of everything that's bad. You come out of every storm. And on the other side of the storm, you either got through it because you made the right choices for your health and for finances and all these things through it, or you gave yourself the excuse that you didn't feel good enough to get anything done, or you were too busy, and then you come out of it not as well as you could have if you would have done some good things for yourself. So that is just, I can't even overexpress that, because that's what my personal experience was looking back and being so thankful that no matter what I was going through, no matter how hard stuff was, is that I was still taking care of my health, so that when I come out of it and I get to a happy place, it truly is a happy place, because I never gave up on myself. So I hope you guys are thinking the same thing regardless of what you're going through. So here's what I really like about this chapter, and then I'm going to wrap it up, is he actually talked about knowing when and when not to track a habit. And I really like this because, I'm always preaching to track, but that's because I am always talking to an audience that people actually want to track and know would be good for them. But the dark side of tracking, I feel like this should be a mystery novel, is a particular behavior when we become driven by the number rather than the purpose behind it. I feel like I should say that a couple more times. So the dark side of tracking a particular behavior, whether it's your steps every day or your nutrition or your finances or your something else that can be addictive to you, is that you become driven by the number rather than the purpose behind it. So if your success is measured by a lower number on the scale, you will optimize for a lower number on the scale. And often, you guys know in our culture that people will do it by no matter the cost, because they get addicted to the number and embrace the crash diets or fasting or finding tons of different ways to get that number down as fast as they can, regardless of how it makes you feel. So the human mind wants to win whatever game is being played. So we care about getting 10,000 steps more than we care about being healthy. That's what I want you to think about. All of our tracking is meant for good. All of our tracking is to find freedom and awareness. So when in this data-driven world, he's talking about how you can easily overvalue the number and not see how great the other value, the purpose is, your why is when you're tracking. So it's crucial to keep habit tracking in its proper place. So it's satisfying to track. It's very rewarding. But also the non-scale victories and your why, your purpose is really the most effective way for weight loss and for gear strength and everything else you want to find out of this program. The number on the scale may be stubborn, so if you focus solely on that number, your motivation will sag. But you may notice your skin looks better, you wake up earlier, your sex drive is better, your energy is better in the afternoon, your attitude's better, your self-talk's better. So that's where he's saying that tracking can be, that's where it can be not helpful. Okay, so remember always the purpose behind our tracking rather than the dark side, which is the number driven. Okay, we were always looking at our purpose. And he says, let's see, and recap, no matter how you measure your improvements, habit tracking offers a simple way to make sure your habits are more satisfying. Each measurement provides a little bit of evidence that you're moving in the right direction and a brief moment of immediate pleasure for a job well done. That's why I want you guys to continue to use our Fit Plus group. That's why I love you guys tagging your friends and your old teammates in this. And constantly giving each other that's what we want, that immediate pleasure of a job well done. And that's what I encourage you guys to keep doing, especially with the people that you've bonded with in our groups, or tagging myself or tagging Sydney or Kellyanna. We want to cheer you on, and we want to give you that immediate satisfaction. If we can be a catalyst for you to have that reward sensation, get that feel, then I want to be, because I want you guys to look for positive ways to reward yourself rather than things that might have been hurtful or harming your results in the past. We want to look for ways that are beneficial to getting that reward sensation. Okay, chapter 17 is how an accountability partner changes everything. And that's why you have me. And that's why I have you. And that's why you have our whole team here. If you don't have an accountability partner, maybe there's a neighbor or a person in your house or a friend that you can have. You can say, hey, I work out online, or I go to this gym and work out with Amy 3 days a week. I would love to know when you're working out, and I want to support you. And so you have that accountability and someone else that's cheering you on. And this, what's really interesting is he talked about, there was a guy that created a habit contract with his wife and his trainer. And if he didn't show up for things and he didn't track his food, he gave his trainer $100 every day he didn't track his food. I'm willing to take that contract with you guys anytime. But the reason why he did that, and because yes, that's shocking and we should all be shocked. That's crazy. But the reason he did it is because he didn't want to actually have to pay his trainer $100. That is such a costly contract that he never missed tracking, and he lost the weight and he got in the shape that he wanted to get in because there was a cost, and he treated himself seriously because of that contract. So if you guys want to have more accountability and talk about more of habit contracts, I'm happy to talk to you about that. So chapter 17 is really good. It does actually talk about how this guy created his habit contract. So knowing someone else is watching you can be a powerful motivator. Knowing I am always watching you and that the team at Fit is watching you, we know your goals because originally you filled them out for us. If you haven't recently and you want to share your goals, you can always share your goals with us. Post in this group to Fit Plus every day if you want to, with your goal that you're specifically working on. Even if it's just as simple as, you know what, you're right, I just need to get back in the habit of tracking my water because I know that that's when I do really well. Or I actually love getting back to basics. I love tracking all 6 steps. I don't want to have to say much, but I want to post every night that I'm doing that. And I'm going to tag me. I say that as you. You're going to tag me in that, or tag Sydney and say, you know what, I've decided, I've committed, I'm recommitting back to the basic 6 steps. They do make me feel good. And I'm also going to tell people in my house so that I get their support, or I'm going to tell my bestie that I'm going to start doing this so that and consider a cost. Consider that you have to, that there's a sacrifice with your commitment, and think about it so that you don't just commit to something and then, since there's no loss, that you might not stick to it. And that's the whole point he's talking about. There needs to be a little bit of a loss, a little pain if it's going to be something you're really serious. So think about it. Tag me in what you love. If you have read this book, have you read this book? What chapter are you on? And let me know, because next week is our 8th week. We will be finishing this book. And I really, again, cannot press the point of how much I've loved this book. So if you guys need anything, you can, again, tag me in this group. And if you have any special needs or prayer requests even, you can go to our Spiritually Fit for Excellence page and check that out. But there is a ton of support within these groups. So I want you to know that we're here for you and I'm cheering you on. So I am super proud of you guys for showing up. Thank you. Bye.